In environmental consulting, data is everywhere. But at ELOS, our most valuable asset isn't a report or a tool. It's our people. Passionate, dedicated, deeply committed to your project's success. They are what sets us apart. Because at ELOS, we don't just do the work, we believe in it. Our people are the problem solvers, the innovators, the trusted advisors. United by a shared mission, the desire to make a difference. To our clients, to our communities, to our environment, to our future. ELOS Environmental, people who care, results that matter.
Of construction inspection errors. My name is Bud Faust, marketing coordinator here at ELOS Environmental. Today we'll be taking a look at some of the more common causes of inspection errors and also some things that you might be able to do, some systems and procedures to put in place to help avoid those errors going forward, because they can be costly both in time and money. A couple of small housekeeping things before we get started. First of all, the presentation is being recorded. It will be available for replay on our YouTube channel, probably sometime tomorrow, if not early next week. You'll receive an email when it is available for replay. If you'd like to just watch it again or perhaps forward it to a colleague or someone else you think might be interested, please feel free. It'll be on our YouTube channel. Also, this is a monthly webinar series that we do here at ELOS. So if you have any topics that you'd like to see us cover in future webinars, please feel free to drop us a line either here or through our LinkedIn page. Upcoming webinars are announced there, so give us a follow and you'll be kept up to date on whatever webinars we have coming up in the future. As for today's presentation, we will be taking questions, but at the end of the presentation. You can enter a question anytime you'd like through the chat function, but again, we won't be answering questions until the end of the presentation. I will also be putting the presenter's contact information into the chat box should you think of any questions or have anything come up at a later date and you want to reach out. So again, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And now I'm going to turn you over to our presenter, Mr. Sean McQuitty.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this webinar. I hope everybody's having a good day. I want to start by telling you a little bit about our company. We're ELOS, an Avinia company. This year, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary. We appreciate everybody who supported us through the years. We're a consulting firm, doing anything from permitting to environmental services, construction management and inspection, and many, many other services. ELOS has become one of the premier professional consulting firms in the state over the last 20 years, and we're very proud of that. And it's a great place to work. A little bit about me. My name's Sean McQuitty. I'm a lifelong resident of Louisiana. I've been here at ELOS for 4 years as a construction manager, an inspector, and an industrial hygiene specialist. I have 19 years experience as an inspector. I've done disaster recovery, building construction, sewer construction, wastewater treatment, and natural gas construction. I've seen a lot of good and a lot of bad in construction inspections. We're going to cover some of those today. So let's get started. Today, we're going to look at the cost of construction inspection errors. These errors rarely start out as disasters. They start out as small gaps, a missed test, incomplete field report, conversation about a change order that wasn't documented. We call it loose change, small, overlooked details that accumulate into the financial impact multiplies into something staggering. So why now? Construction margins are tightening. Inflation, labor costs, material costs, labor shortages, tariff uncertainty, supply chain disruptions, they all directly affect budget. There's no cushion for mistakes. But today is not about blaming inspectors for being bad at their jobs. Most errors are failures in system design, not incompetence. We're going to look at the visible cost of these failures, then dive into the hidden multipliers that drain a budget. Let's start with what everyone sees: rework and remediation. Things like concrete replacement, failed compaction, weld repairs, utility relocation, stormwater controls that were installed incorrectly. We use the 2 to 4 time rule. Example of this is when concrete is installed incorrectly, you're not just paying for new material. You have to pay for demolition, disposal of the waste, new materials. Probably going to pay more for it than you did when you first bought it. You have to pay a labor crew a second time to do the same task. Then we have a ripple effect on the schedule. A failed rebar inspection doesn't just stop the concrete pour. It freezes rough ends, framing, finishing crews. While the work is frozen, the clock never stops. Liquidated damages, superintendent salaries, trailers, equipment rentals, additional lab fees, overtime for inspectors, they all keep accumulating. Rework doesn't just affect one task, it affects cost, schedule, and risk. Additional lab fees, inspector overtime costs, expediting material shipments. Sometimes we need independent verification. These are actually easier costs to manage because they're all out in the open. That's why getting it right the first time is so critical. So let's move into the hidden multipliers, the costs that don't appear as a line item until it's too late. Legal exposure. These costs aren't visible up front, but they can escalate quickly. Everything is a potential piece of evidence. Without proper documentation, it's very difficult to defend decisions or actions. Vague language like looks good is dangerous, it's subjective. Verbal approvals that aren't logged are a primary source of litigation. Today, photos aren't enough. We need GPS location, timestamps, signatures to prove when and where it was taken. Another major indirect cost comes from insurance and bonding impacts. These are often overlooked, but they can have long-term consequences for a company. More claims or higher risk profiles lead insurers to charge more over time. Fewer carriers may be willing to provide coverage, or coverage may come with stricter terms. Strong quality control systems can help mitigate the risk. Weak ones raise red flags. Direct costs like legal fees and settlements are just the tip of the iceberg. We look at what's below the waterline. The most expensive part of an error is often your executive time. This is your hidden payroll. You spend time on depositions, internal investigations, report reconstruction, leadership distraction. When leadership is focused on litigation, they aren't focused on innovation or strategy for the future of the company. So if these costs are so high, why do they keep happening? Usually it comes down to 4 systematic failures. We have human factors like inspector fatigue and workload, inadequate training, cognitive bias, distractions and interruptions. Fatigue causes an inspector to get compliant. You see what you expect to see. If the last 100 were perfect, number 101 is probably going to be perfect too when your brain's not functioning like it should. High volumes can lead to rust inspection, missed items, incomplete documentation. Then we have process failures, unclear inspection scope, inadequate checklist, poor sequencing, lack of hold points. When the scope is unclear, the inspector decides what's important, leads to inconsistency. When Inspector A passes, Inspector B rejects. Lack of hold points. Hold points are milestones where the work must stop for an inspection. Example of this is rebar mats that have to be inspected before they're covered in concrete. Documentation and communication, poor record keeping, design versus field disconnect, no deficiency tracking, verbal approvals that are not documented, missing photos, incomplete reports. It's impossible to verify what happened, what was inspected. And we have time gap issues. The longer it takes to document events, the more inconsistent the report will be. People forget. And we have organizational issues, conflicts of interest. Contractor employed inspectors feel pressured sometimes to pass questionable work. I've in the past been on inspections where they had some very questionable fittings, and the contractor tells me, well, let's just see if it passes a pressure test. Also been told, I've been doing this for 30 years. It's because you've been doing it for a long time, doesn't mean they were doing it correctly. Sometimes you have really, really busy work sites. You might have 5 crews working all at the same time, but only one inspector. Crews can hide their work. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. They may have hang drywall before an electrical inspection, so you can't even see what's there. Technical and environmental issues. We have access limitations, measurement and equipment errors, weather and site conditions. It's hard to inspect what you can't see. Sometimes they're hard to reach areas, confined spaces or heights, leads to consumed appliance. You may have an inspector look at this 40-foot ladder, it looks questionable, and he might just come to the conclusion that it's probably okay up there. 100-degree heat. I know we've all felt that around here. Freezing rain. Sometimes your inspector is just thinking about survival out there. It's tough. Low light, extreme temperatures, and dust all degrade inspection quality. So we have identified the issues. So how do we fix them? We implement a 3-layer protection model. Layer 1 is field verification. This is the most cost-effective place we can catch an error, is where and when the work is actually happening. We use qualified inspectors. They need to understand what they're looking at. You can't have plumbing inspectors looking at electrical work. You're going to get a bad result. We use checklists that are tailored to a specific project's risk. We update these quite often with the input of our inspectors who are out there in the field, the things that they catch. We use iPads with software with real-time entry, timestamps and GPS. We can see what every inspector is doing real time. Excuse me. So layer 1 was eyes on the ground. Layer 2 is eyes on the inspector. Internal QA reviews. We audit 10% of reports randomly. When inspectors know there's a possibility of their work being reviewed, quality naturally goes up. For new inspectors, we audit them daily to make sure reports are up to our standards. We use standardized language. We don't use looks good. That's not acceptable. It meets spec X, not 1. No opinions, only facts. If we have 3 different inspectors on a project in a week, the report should look exactly the same. We have to have consistency. We make sure that photos match descriptions. We make sure there are timestamps throughout the day. Really look over these things. Layer 3 is the extra set of eyes. Bring in a third party who has no daily involvement in the project, no relationship with the contractor. Now, this is not for every project. These are for milestones that once we move forward, the cost of a mistake becomes exponential. The failure is incredibly difficult to remediate. Things like bridge suspension systems, post-tension, primary load-bearing wells, massive foundation mats, bridge peers. Then we have politically sensitive public projects. So we bring in an independent specialist that demonstrates to the public, the media, government agencies, that the project is being held to the highest possible standard. We combine these three layers. We create a defensive perimeter that makes systemic failure nearly impossible. Hardening documents. This ensures that a third party, a judge or auditor, can understand exactly what happened without the original inspector there to see it. We replace phrases like the area was mostly clear. We say instead a 20-foot by 20-foot workspace was cleared and all the debris was removed per the safety plan. Very concise. We use software with automatic metadata, GPS, timestamps, who created the report, who audited the report, when was it signed. One quick text can make all the difference in a dispute. So we archive all our communication threads to an inspection event. Let's say, for an example, a contractor texts the inspector and says, tired of waiting on an answer, moving forward with the new plan. Sometimes they do that. They beg for forgiveness later, but that could make all the difference in litigation or in a dispute. So we save all of our communications. Excuse me, sorry. Surge capacity planning. Capacity strain is predictable and manageable with planning. We maintain a bench of pre-qualified on-call inspectors. It's very important to have these people on standby during these very busy times. It prevents us from panic hiring or pulling unqualified staff in the roles that they're trained to do. We swap inspectors from high intensity sites to lower intensity sites so they can maintain mental sharpness. During volume spikes, our internal QA team, layer 2, feels the most pressure. So we have senior inspectors review each other's work. This ensures our documentation is to our standards. So, are you exposed? As we close here today, here are some questions to bring back to your team. Do you audit inspection reports quarterly? Do you have written documentation standards? Can you reconstruct any project's inspection history within 24 hours? Do you have a surge plan for peak construction? Reports reviewed for defensibility language. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
All right, thank you, Sean. With that, we'll open it up for any questions. Please feel free to just type your question into the chat box, and we'll get you an answer if we can. While we're waiting to see if there are any questions, I'll remind you again that the presentation is being recorded and will be made available on our YouTube channel. You'll receive an email when it is available. Again, please feel free to share the link with anybody you think might be interested, or if you'd like to rewatch the presentation. I also have Sean's email address in the chat box. If you think of a question at a later time and would like to reach out to him, please feel free to do so. Again, I mentioned that this is a monthly series of webinars that we do on a wide range of topics that affect environmental consulting, environmental field services, project management. So if you have any ideas or anything you'd like to see us cover specifically, perhaps there is an issue you encounter on a regular basis and need some guidance with, please feel free to drop us a line, give us a follow on LinkedIn, because that's where you'll see the announcements for our next webinar. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box as of right now. I'll give it another moment or so. Want to make sure that if there are any questions, we can answer them for you. Okay. Not seeing any questions, so I'm assuming that Sean did such a wonderful job that he answered all of your questions and gave you everything you need. So again, feel free to give us a follow on LinkedIn to see about our next webinar.